on a night cold as a heart.
I'll leave my business cards here. In fact, those will be what I have. And so if you guys have any questions, questions specifically about your workspace or something else, you said something popped in your head that we didn't have time to get to today, please get in touch with me. I'll leave it there. Get in touch with me and ask me. This is why my position in my police department exists. So please get in touch with me. All right, thank you very much.
You know, people coming here too, and it reminded me of the guy that was in the bathroom a couple weeks ago, you know.
Yeah, trust your instincts,
the guy
right.
that just showed up.
Yeah.
Is this thing running? What are you doing?
It was, look, I can edit everything. So I take out the best part. Here, you guys get over there together, okay?
Very colorful.
Okay, there we go. Now, you were telling me something about, I just need a summarization of what the police guy was talking about.
Which is about listening to your instincts.
Trusting your instincts in a given situation.
Give me an example.
I wasn't here.
Oh. Well, you had such a good explanation for it a little bit. Okay.
I told you about it the other day.
Right.
When I was like 21 years old and I came out of a restaurant having waited on some scary looking dudes. And when I got out to my car, the back doors of the car were open on both sides. And they were both approaching me slowly with their hands behind their backs and asking me directions somewhere. And my instinct immediately was, uh-oh. And so, you know, I immediately got in my car and drove away. But it was one of those things, like, never resolved. It's like, if you have that fear that rises up, that shows up.
Trust your instinct, and your first option is always to run. Second option.
Say that again?
The first option, they recommend that you get away from the
Actually run.
Second one would be to hide. If you can't do that, then to fight. Run, hide, fight.
Run, hide, fight. Well, there you go. See, that's all we needed to hear.
That was how he was rattling it.
Well, number one is trust your instincts. And she'll have better instincts about people than us.
Yeah, there was that part.
Just
I didn't want to say
because
that.
females, from the time they're young, are targets for a certain group of people, and their instincts are way ahead of ours.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now, sometimes my wife, because she likes me, we're walking downtown at night, and she'll have her arm in my arm. When I see somebody coming, I say, don't hold on to my arm. Because I want to be ready
Oh.
with either hand to protect myself.
Fight or flight, which was the third step you mentioned, right? Which was
Fight.
fight.
Run, hide, fight.
Run, hide, fight is what he said that was the main point.
Problem being with
But
cops
you were
are
ready to fight right off the bat.
Well, yeah,
he's trained to.
Where I'm going, if I run, that leaves my wife behind because I can run 4 times faster than she ever thought of.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other points to today's thing that comes to
No,
mind?
it's pretty good. One, every time I go into a public place, I look. Like, one, there's a door there. Does everybody in church know about that door? New people might not. Where it goes? It goes, woo. Well, the only bad thing about it throws you to the front.
There's one downstairs, out to the backyard.
If you get downstairs, if somebody comes in, there's a problem up here, hopefully downstairs they pull that door shut and lock it. And that's a good heavy door.
Yeah.
And then everybody downstairs just shuts up and hunkers down.
So that's
There's little rooms that are secured with cement walls on 2 sides and then with a heavier door. Yeah, downstairs. But I'm sure with little kids, that's why during the week, during the daycare downstairs, that door's locked. You have to buzz and somebody will come upstairs and let you in. If I come here during the week to do something at church, somebody usually comes upstairs. I tell them who I am because not everybody down there knows there. I had a key to let me in, so I came in. And I'm just up here moving some chairs around or stacking some tables or dropping some stuff off, and I'll be out of here and I'll make sure the door's locked when I leave.
Well, so let me ask you, what was the purpose of having the police come and talk about,
I don't know how many businesses have plans at their office you know, just a little office. It's got 5 or 6 people, but you get a disgruntled person. A former employee who's pissed.
Hasn't this happened for
guys
centuries?
have gone into an office to go kill their ex-wife and anybody around, especially if they think she's been having an affair with some guy in the office, and go in there and try to shoot him and that.
Okay. Well, again,
Office fight or flight, we've had those at the sheriff's office. Usually there's a bunch of people with guns that take care of the problem. But we've had suspicious people in the sheriff's office because our records department is surrounded by glass on the front, so they can see outside. They see anybody who can come in. And if they don't like it, they push a button and armed people will show up.
You know, we've had angry husbands come here and bash their wife's car with a bat, threaten people in the street.
so overall, do you think this was a good experience to have the
I think
police come
it's
talk about?
unfortunate. It's something that everybody needs to be aware of. At least things to think of. Every time I go to a restaurant or any public building, I look and see where front door, I know where that is because that's where I came out. How else would I get out? Like if there's a fire.
Yeah.
Sometimes it crosses my mind when I go into a movie theater.
Always look where the other doors are.
Huh.
You know, in a movie theater, you know, you come in usually the back or the front or something.
Yeah.
But they'll have probably total 3 or 4 different doors. Except maybe some of the old neighborhood theaters that are all gone now, but they have exits. A lot of these multi-screen theaters got a lot of people and they want to get everybody outside.
So I see a trend that there's this awareness of, and then there's this idea of getting us prepared for and thinking constantly about terrorism.
You know, the biggest changes in schools. When I started at the sheriff's office, you never saw a cop in the school in Washington County. They didn't want to. As far as I know, I was the first cop to get in school because my best friend was a teacher at Sunset. And he got me into his classroom, and then the teachers got to know me, the administration got to know me because I was working out with the cross country and track teams there. And I met some teachers over the years on my job, and they'd say, "Hey, could you come talk to my classroom?" Now you go to a school, and they like to have armed policemen there 24/7.
Who wants the police there?
Public for their
kids?
children.
Oh, not the kids.
No, most of the kids do too now, unfortunately. But we have, they call them school resource officers. I think there's one at every high school in the county just about all day, every day.
The way the dates fall.
And
Because it was Monday, one Monday
he
was
may-
payday, it's, because Monday's
you know, there may be a couple officers assigned to one at a high school, and then there might be 2 middle schools, and there'll be an officer, and you kind of go between the 2 middle schools.
I
But
mean, if you think
yeah,
about it, what are the institutions
Have a
that are
binder now made
protected?
up of everything.
Well, airports, right? And also government
No, because you don't use a
buildings
paper service.
are
you know,
protected.
the targets
So in a
seem to-
way, you know,
targets seem to be
wherever there
school.
are large groups of people on a daily basis.
And schools, you know, are some of the hardest places to defend because, you know, depending on when they're built, there might be 1,000,000 doors. You know, the California style, all the doors open out from all the classrooms. Remember we had incident at Aloha High School where somebody was supposed to come and we chained all the doors shut except for the front doors. So all the kids had to leave by the front doors. The school said anybody who wants to go home can go home. So we had tons of parents showing up. We made them stay out. The kids came out. But we had 3 officers patrolling that school. And the parents said, "Thank you. Wish you guys were here every day." And I go, "That's sad."
Saw you Sunday, so that was quite a while.
You know, because it puts stress on the teachers, puts stress on the kids. What are they supposed to be there for?
Right, education, not
Yeah.
fear-mongering.
Yeah. Well, no, that was
The
a kid
terror
at school. We used to
thinking.
have air raid drills.
Right.
Like this, we had a basement in my grade school, so everybody go in the basement, sit against the cement wall.
Crawl under your desk, right?
Well, we had a basement in my school. It was built in 1923.
Yeah.
So we go down to the basement, and everybody just and you know, air raid drills. And early high school didn't have really places to go, so we just hunkered down in the classroom because it was all one level. Lincoln High School there in Southwest Portland. it's all windows and doors, get away from the windows. You know, now with shooters, what's the first thing they do? The teachers lock the doors, close the blinds, everybody sits on the floor and shuts up. Most of those classroom doors are pretty heavy doors.
That's what they do now? That's what they're instructed to do?
Pretty much, freeze in place. If once an active shooter shows up, they have code words. You know, hospitals do too. We got a dingbat out of the hospital in St. V's, it's called the code, and we went up there. Some dork head with a knife. Yeah.
Well, okay.
It could be a real issue. And then you get any kind of, well, I don't go out at night, but nightclubs and those kind of places, you know, especially when you got a bunch of young, too much testosterone running around in the room, males and females, and somebody's playing off somebody else, there's going to be a fight. You know, it's not like the old days where they just throw a few punches and that's it. Now somebody's got a gun.
Jeez.
It's hard to take those bullets back when they leave the barrel.
Right.
Now, you know, all police officers in the county are trained for school or a business response, but it started because of the schools, because of the slow responses, waiting for the SWAT team to show up, which can take a half hour. How many people can get killed in a half hour? The guy's going to run out of ammo first.
Yeah.
So the police are trained to respond. The first 5 officers that show up, and they'll be from anywhere. County, Beaverton, Hillsborough, Sherwood, Tualatin, Tiger, State Police. The first 5 officers that show up, the senior guy will take the lead probably, and they go in to hunt the bad guy. That's their mission, hunt the bad guy, kill him. Neutralize him, basically kill him.
You might have to go outside, Daniel.
Yeah. So,
Might have to shoot it outside.
At Shepherd of the Valley, be it today, or 3 weeks ago, or 10 years ago, or the first time this congregation gathered. If you were here earlier, you could use your same words again. Some of the choirs at both services. So, and then just write those down, and then we'll talk a little bit about them at your tables. So while you're thinking about that, first times are so important, you know. That's the first experiences we get of things. A couple of years ago, I had the first trip together with the person who is now my spouse. We weren't even dating then, but we were doing a continuing ed event, and we traveled together across North Dakota and into Montana. We spent some time at the prayer camp at Standing Rock at Little Bighorn. Took a couple of days and explored the mountains. All in all, it was a good trip. On the way across North Dakota, we got to Medora. I happen to love that area. The northern part of Roosevelt State Park is one of my favorite places to wander around and hike. It is a great place. And so I pulled off, I had this great idea, because there's parts of old Highway 10 that go through there from before the interstate was there. When I was a kid, we'd go back and forth from Montana to Minnesota, where my parents came from, at least once a year, and we drive across old Highway 10. And you go through western North Dakota in the Badlands, and you go down this little squiggly road and up the other side, and it's horrible on ice and beautiful at any time. And some years before, I had found bits and pieces of that road that still exist. And so I thought I would take Alyssa from Medora to Beach on the bits and pieces of old Highway 10 that are there. So I pulled off in Medora, a little town there, found the road leading out of town, headed off there, drove 7-8 miles and came to a town. I didn't remember there being another town out there. And I drove into the town and it was Medora again. Somehow on a cloudy day I'd taken a combination of roads and did a great big circle and drove right back into where I started from. And so I laughed a little bit and said, well, let's try that again. It didn't work, so I picked a different road heading out in case I was wrong. Drove around that time for 10, 12 miles. Drove into another little town and it turned out to be Medora again. I did it 2 more times. 4 times I left that town. 4 times I inadvertently got back to it. I was quite embarrassed by that time. I was not making a good impression on this person I was kind of wanting to make a good impression on. And so I pulled back on the freeway and turned red and we went along our way. That part of the state though is beautiful. When my son was born a long time ago, he was born about 2 months early. He spent 2 months in a neonatal, most of 2 months in a neonatal intensive care. 11 months later, after his birth, took him on his first camping trip, and that's where we went. It was in early May. We were camping in Medora, or outside of Medora, and then hiking the northern part. It was down to like 0 to 10 degrees at night. It was so cold at night. I would sit and shiver outside my tent building a fire, listening to the motorhome across the way with the furnace going on and off and on and off. That sounded really nice. My son, this was kind of fun because it was his first week off of the heart-lung monitor that he'd had for 11 months, well, since for the 9 months between out of the hospital and turning 11 months old, because his heart would slow down and his breathing would stop. Preemies don't have that same instinct to breathe when they start slowing down a little bit. So he was on that monitor, and yes, it went off way too many times. I'd wake up at his crib shaking him, making sure he was breathing again. So it was kind of fun. It was kind of scary. Our first trip there was his first week without that thing on. I had him in a kid's snowsuit, stuffed in a kid's sleeping bag, stuffed in a big sleeping bag, and his favorite stocking cap pulled down on his head. He slept like a proverbial baby. He slept and he was warm and he was happy and I was freezing and tired and we go hiking. It was beautiful. It was fun. First times are so defining. I always remember that trip. I remember wandering the roads, finding new paths. I remember wanting to return, and I have on occasion. First time. So right now I'd like you to take a moment and get a piece of paper and a pen and just quietly write down 3 words that you would use to describe the first time you worshiped in this congregation. Go ahead. And when you get that done, and everybody's got their 3 words done, then share those 3 words around your table. Nothing else the first time around, so everybody gets their 3 words out. And then once everybody's announced their 3 words, then go ahead and talk about it. We'll just take a few minutes and do that.
Today's our first.
nations. Grant wisdom to leaders. Teach us to resolve conflict without violence. Strengthen those who protect human rights, and civil liberties. Bring an end to warfare, famine, and hunger. Lord, in your mercy, we pray for this assembly, for those preparing for baptism, for parish nurses, for all who provide health care in our communities, for those who make quilts and gather supplies for global relief, for ministries of prayer and visitation. Lord, in your mercy. We pray for those who are in need, for those who lack meaningful employment or stable housing, for those who live with mental illness, for those who live with chronic pain, for all who are grieving, sick, injured, alone, afraid, living harm or in danger of harm, for refugees, for all who are in need. We pray especially